Hello and welcome to the RealTime Fantasy Sports Show. I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports, and we are going to start our position preview videos for the start of the fantasy football season right around the corner here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. All sorts of great games and contests going on over here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. You can get in one today. Go to RTSports.com, click on that Money League link. You can get in our Fantasy Life Championship for a chance to win $500,000, our Best Ball Championship, our Beat Howard Bender Championship, all sorts of great contests. A lot of fun over here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. We're making a lot of changes as well. We have a great new design for all of our home pages, and our drafts are going to have a new draft room as well. So great stuff happening here at RealTime Fantasy Sports this year. We're really excited for the coming season. So get in a league today and take advantage of all this great advice we're going to give you here in our free draft guide, which is freedraftguide.com. And you can see all the great stuff in there also. So we're going to start with the quarterback preview for our first of the position previews. And I'm going to have my son, Henry Paur, join me as always to help me preview this position. Henry, thanks so much for joining me today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Henry, quarterback position. So we're going to jump into this. We're going to have several categories we're going to look at. And the first one is, what's the biggest quarterback storyline heading into fantasy drafts this year? I'll let you start. What do you think the biggest quarterback storyline is?
I think it's the Minnesota QB battle. We know what this offense can be when you have the wide receiver room is up there with the best in the NFL. You have Jefferson, Addison, and then you added Juwan Jennings, and you have TJ Hawkinson at tight end. And the running game is still okay. They drafted Claiborne, and they still have Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. But we don't really know what's going to happen. They released a statement earlier this week saying that it's going to go down to week one. Like, it's going to go down all the way to the wire of who's going to start. We will not know for a while now. So it's a huge question mark on what's going to happen to this Minnesota offense. We know what Kevin O'Connell can do with quarterbacks. We've seen him resurrect the career of Sam Darnold. We've also seen Daniel Jones went there for like 4 weeks, then went to Indianapolis, and we saw how good he was. We know what he can do with quarterbacks. Let's just see if he can maybe figure it out with Kyler, or JJ has a huge bounce back season.
So I'm going to pivot and not do a quarterback battle, but I'm going to do the health of a quarterback. And I think it's Patrick Mahomes' health. There's been great news coming out of training camp, out of offseason workouts, I should say, and as training camp gets ready to start here this week as well, about his devastating knee injury that say he's moving around great. But the reports are when it first happened, he was going to miss a few weeks, maybe even half the season. But now they're talking about him being ready for week one. We know Patrick Mahomes can be a difference maker for fantasy teams when he's on his game. They made some improvements along the offensive line, added him some receiver depth as well. So I think it's the biggest storyline, in my opinion. It's Patrick Mahomes, the health of him. He can be the MVP of the league when everything's going well. So that's my big storyline to watch as we head into fantasy drafts for the quarterback position. All right, Henry, let's talk about the safest pick at quarterback. Who do you feel best about? You can make a pick on this guy, and you feel good about him reaching expectations.
So I'm gonna go with the guy here that many people don't really sour on when they see him like actually play the quarterback position. But if there's a fantasy quarterback, he's been very consistently a top 10 guy every time, every year. Every year of his career, he's been top 10. And it's Jalen Hurts. I mean, you're always going to have the tush push upside with him. He's going to get his rushing touchdowns. The rushing upside's huge there. He's in a new offensive scheme this year, which I think that was a whole issue last year, is their offense was horrible. They refused to change coordinators, and they run Sean Mannion this year, who I think is going to be a big upgrade for him. I know they lost A.J. Brown, but they still drafted Mekhi Lemon, and they drafted a tight end out of Vanderbilt. I mean, they have a lot of upside to be a good offense this year. Hopefully Barkley can bounce back and open up more in the passing game, but I think Hurts is just a consistent guy when you look at him. He consistent top 10. That's all you can ask for. He's getting you, he's probably top 5 most years in fantasy points per game. It's just a very safe guy to have on your team.
My safest pick, same division, different team. It's the Cowboys, and it's Dak Prescott. 4,000-yard seasons, 2 of 3, 30-plus touchdowns, 2 of 3, pass-first offense. As you mentioned with Jalen Hurts, he has great pass catchers to work with too. George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson. Dak Prescott airs it out on a weekly basis. He may not be asked to do that quite as much this year because I think their defense is going to be better. Either way, I think he's really safe, and I think he's overlooked from fantasy teams as well because you can get him later than some of those elite number one quarterbacks. But When it comes to safe quarterbacks, I don't think there's a safer one than Dak Prescott, in my opinion. Let's look at the opposite end of things now, Henry. How about a bust? Who's the biggest bust at quarterback in your eyes for this coming season?
Now I know this guy. I think he can be a very good quarterback for them. It's just the issue of there is nothing to work with outside of the running attack in this team, and that's Malik Willis. Now I know people really like him this year because he's got the huge rushing upside, which that could help him. But the issue is there is no one to catch the ball in Miami. They got rid of Waddle. They got rid of Tyreek Hill. They are down to Malik Washington. Who else there? Kevin Coleman. They signed Tolbert, I think. I mean, that is not a good receiving room to help you win football games. I know Devon Achane is going to really help with rushing and receiving upside, but there is not much for Malik Willis to work with, and I just worry about what's going to happen in Miami this year.
That was a shot at Greg Dulcich, so you
Yeah.
don't like him either, do you?
No, he's fine, but he's not like all the other upper level of receivers and tight ends in the league.
So my biggest bust is kind of the similar option as Malik Willis, in my opinion. It's because the options around him just are not very good. A lot of hype's going to go into him this coming year, and it's Fernando Mendoza, the number one overall pick of the Las Vegas Raiders. Bright future. I think he's a super talented quarterback. He's going to be good in this league. But again, he has nobody to throw the ball to. He has Brock Bowers. That's it. The receiver corps is the worst in football. I think it's worse than Miami's, in my opinion, in Las Vegas. Really bad. Brock Bowers is it for Fernando Mendoza to throw the ball to, and I don't think he is going to run the ball as well as Malik Willis, so that really limits his floor as well. So I think he's going to have a rough year. And they've talked about Kirk Cousins maybe starting much of the season here too. It seems like Tom Brady, the minority owner there, is pushing for that to happen too. So I'm just avoiding Mendoza at all costs. I don't see him doing a lot as a rookie. I know that's changed in recent years. A lot of times rookies come in, make a big impact right away. I don't see that with Fernando Mendoza this year. All right, let's talk about maybe a player we're higher on than the consensus. So maybe we have them ranked higher in our draft, or we're taking them higher than their ADP. Who's a quarterback that fits that mold for you, Henry?
So a lot of people also really like this guy. That's Justin Herbert. I mean, there is just so much that's going to be going right for this offense this year. The biggest thing, there's actually two really big factors. One, Mike McDaniel's the offensive coordinator. We've seen what he can produce in an offense. And last year was kind of a year where Tua looked horrible. Tyreek was out for half the year. I mean, they had not much going for them. But now he gets Justin Herbert, an elite quarterback. He gets a running game with Marion Hampton, and he gets Lad McConkey, and I know the receivers outside of that are a little sketchy with Trey Harris or Quentin Johnson, but the offense is just could be really good this year. They also signed Njoku, and the upside's there. But the biggest thing is the O-line is going to be healthy. The issue last year was they were the worst offensive line in football, and he still was a very productive fantasy quarterback. And now he's getting back both all-pro tackles. I mean, he could be in for a huge year in Los Angeles.
I agree. I like Herbert a lot this year. He was on my list for this as well. But the player I'm higher on than consensus is Trevor Lawrence. Finally took that big step forward last year with Liam Cohen as his head coach. I think that was a big factor. I have him as my QB7. And first off, last year, he was fourth overall. I don't know if people realize that. He was a top 5 fantasy quarterback last year. And I feel like people are kind of sleeping on him and overlooking that. But he was really good last year. And he dealt with a ton of drops from his pass catchers. So if his pass catchers can catch a ball even a little better this year, Brian Thomas has a better year, I think his numbers could go up even more. I know the schedule is going to be tougher, but I still think Lawrence is going to have a huge season, can be a top 5 possible fantasy quarterback once again. And I think the elite production is going to be there for him in this Jacksonville offense. They got to have a lot of very talented pass catchers. You got to remember, too, Travis Hunter was hurt nearly all the year also. I know he's not going to be a huge factor in the passing game, but that's a guy that can make big plays. So that's another weapon there. Parker Washington's going to take a step forward as well. So I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have another really big season, and I think people are kind of overlooking him right now. So I'm higher on him than the consensus. Let's do, just like we did with the bust, we'll do the opposite end of things here. The player you're lower on the consensus. So might not be, a bust, but you're just not quite as high on him as some of the other so-called fantasy experts out there. Who's that for you, Henry?
That's Shane Daniels. I love the player. The talent is there. We saw his rookie year, but then we saw last year the injuries. He was injured mostly the entire year. And then to go along with that, this year they didn't do much to add to help him. I mean, they added Rashad White. The O line's still not the best, and they lose Debo Samuel. So the receiver room's getting worse. I know McLaurin will probably be healthy for most of this year, but they didn't do much to surround him with help. And we saw what he was last year. He had injuries and not much to work with, and they didn't do much help. You'd think you'd want to build around your franchise quarterback, but they didn't really do much of that in the offseason. I'm a little worried that we're just going to see another down year out of Jane Daniels.
I feel like I dog this guy every year, and I'm going to do it again this year. I'm not big on him from a fantasy perspective. So the player I'm lower on than the consensus is Jordan Love. He has finished inside the top 10 in fantasy quarterback scoring just one time in his career. He's finished 15th or worse in 2 straight seasons. Last year, most people thought he had a good one, and he still wasn't much of a help for fantasy teams. They're more of a run-first offense, and I think that really limits Love's ceiling. I know they kind of wrapped up some of those receivers for a few years, so they're hoping that that passing game can maybe take some steps forward this year with Christian Watson and Jaden Reed being the go-to guys. But I think it's going to be more of the same. I just don't think Love has a very high weekly season, so I'm pretty down on him. I just don't see him being much of a help for fantasy teams once again. All right, my next category, Henry, favorite late round quarterback. So a guy you can get late in drafts that you're probably throwing in as your QB2. Who do you like in that category?
Mine's Baker Mayfield. It seems like we forget that he was an MVP favorite for the first 7 weeks of the season last year before he kind of got. After watching quarterback, we saw how banged up he was. His arm looked dead. It was all bruised up and everything, and he's dealing with a lot. And we know what he can be. He provides good rushing upside. His receiver room is still pretty good. I know you lose Evan, but you still have Godwin, Emeka Ibuka. We saw the emergence of Tez Johnson last year also. And you still have Jalen McMillan. I mean, the receiver room's there. The O-line is good. Bucky will be healthy, which will provide a running attack to help them maybe open up more in the pass. But Baker was really good the first 7 weeks last year, and we seem to forget that. I just really think that he could have another big year if he's finally fully healthy for this year. And he's in a contract year.
I agree. I like Baker. I think that's a good call. I think he's right now his ADP's QB 17. Last year it was like top 10. I know it was in that area. It was pushing 6 or 7 probably. So he's really fallen after last year. So my favorite late round QB is a guy you can get even later than that. It's Jacoby Brissett. So if I'm using an early round pick on a QB, I think waiting and taking Brissett late's a smart move. He's QB 29 in ADP right now. You heard that, 29. So there are a ton of guys going ahead of him right now, including Mendoza, who I mentioned earlier, Daniel Jones. A lot of guys are. But remember, he didn't take over as a starter until week 6 last year. He was still 16th overall in fantasy quarterback scoring. He had 20-plus fantasy points, 10 of 12 starts last year. If he plays a full season, he throws for nearly 4,100 yards and has 33 total touchdowns with 11 interceptions. That's a huge year. That would be good for 5th overall in fantasy quarterback scoring. So those are just monster numbers. I don't think he's going to get those chances this year because I don't think Arizona is going to be that bad and playing from behind that much. But I still think he's a capable fantasy starter in this offense. He has some good weapons to work with: Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison, the tight end as well, Trey McBride. So I think Jacoby Brissett is dirt cheap and worth the risk as a QB2. All right, Henry, I'm going to do something here before we get to our last category and prediction. I'm going to give you a couple options with similar ADP. So we're going to do a debate here and tell me who you're going to take. So these guys have similar ADPs. They come up at your pick in the draft. Who you taking? So first one, I think I might know this already because you said you're not big on him this year and you like the other guy. Jaden Daniels or Jalen Hurts? Who you got there? Same division.
Like I said earlier, it's Jalen Hurts. He's the more safe pick. I know Daniels provides upside, but I just feel like Hurts is in more of the safe system. He's got more around him on a way better team, in my opinion. Just everything lines up better for Hurts to be a way better QB than Jaden Daniels, especially with Hurts. It's just so safe of a pick. I cannot harp on that enough that I really like Jalen Hurts this year.
I agree. I think it's a close call. I like Daniels. If they would have added some more receiver help for him this year besides Terry McLaurin, keeping him, I would feel better about it. But I don't like that receiver room. So I'm going with Hurts too because the rushing upside, the rushing touchdowns. Obviously, Daniels has huge upside rushing as well, but Hurts gets all those touchdowns from the tush push. So I give him a slight edge here, but I think it's a close call. All right, next one. I feel like these guys kind of came up together. They've been compared a lot throughout their career. So I think this is a good one. Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert? Who you got here?
I'm gonna go Herbert. I love Joe Burrow. His offense is so good. They hurt that sorry hurts. Higgins and Chase are just a dynamic duo. We know what the Bengals offense can be, but the last couple of years, Burrow's got banged up a lot because of how bad that O line is. And it worries me that he's gonna get hurt again. I know they improved on defense, which can help him more possession wise, but I just don't trust. I like Burrow. I think the offense could be good. Just Herbert provides so much upside. With he runs the ball better than Burrow. His offensive coordinator is probably better than Zach Taylor calling plays, and they might have a better running attack too and a better O line. It's just I think things line up better for Herbert to have a bigger fantasy year than Joe Burrow.
So I'm going to disagree with you here. I think it's close. So I love Herbert a lot for this coming season, but I think Joe Burrow has the edge because of those receivers, Chase and Higgins. I think that gives him a little more upside for the huge game on a weekly basis. I think it's close, but if I have to pick between the two, I'm probably leaning Joe Burrow. Next one, Henry. Again, similar type players, young players coming into their own. Drake May's in his second year, and this guy's in his third year. It's Caleb Williams. So Caleb Williams or Drake May?
So you got that wrong. They're both in the third year. We'll start with
Oh,
that.
my bad, you're right.
But I'm gonna go with Caleb Williams here. I made this prediction. You're gonna probably talk about it more later, but I think Caleb Williams will win the MVP this year. I
Wow.
so many things are gonna go right for Caleb Williams. I mean, I think there's gonna have a huge breakout in the offense side. Burden and Loveland, I think, are gonna have two huge second year breakouts. Malone guy's probably gonna be a bigger factor in the run game. And Ben Johnson, we have seen what he can do when he's calling plays and what type of year that Jared Goff put up. I know he never won MVP with him, but Caleb Williams also provides a rushing upside that's going to help him get over the edge, I think. And he's probably a more talented quarterback than Goff is. So I think he's going to have a huge year. And for Drake May, I just worry about the schedule. I mean, they're going to play a first place schedule on a team that I thought overperformed by a lot last year and then made a Super Bowl. But I just worry about them. I love Drake May. I love the talent. But don't get me wrong. I'm just not a big fan of their schedule they're going to go through. I know they had A.J. Brown, but I think Caleb Williams' upside is huge this year, and I'd be all in on him.
I'm the same way. I'm a Caleb Williams guy. I feel like he even had some issues with offensive line play. I know he holds the ball on a long time, but still, he didn't have a whole lot of time to throw. Some receivers had some problems with drop passes. He missed on some throws as well. So I think his ceiling's even higher. So I think Caleb Williams is a guy. And Drake May, what worries me is the way he performed in the playoffs. Kind of scares me a little bit. The big bright lights run didn't play too good late in the year. So I wonder what happens with a tougher schedule throughout the season and teams getting kind of the book on him. So I say Caleb Williams here. I think it's a close call. Drake May is really good, but I give Williams the edge here. Last one, we'll go with a couple more veteran guys. I think they're similar type players too. It's Brock Purdy and Jared Goff. Who do you got here?
I got Brock Purdy. I mean, I love his rushing upside. Warren Goff was another big thing, but their offense is going to be a lot more intriguing this year. The more I think of, the more I look at it. I mean, being McCaffrey healthy, that's always huge. You know how big of a factor he's in there. But it sounds like George Kittle may be good to go week one, which is huge. That offense revolves around him being healthy in the run game and the passing game. We saw how good we saw McCaffrey's numbers when Kittle was healthy blocking versus when he wasn't. So that helps Purdy in that factor. And they also added Dejon Stripling and they also added Mike Evans at receiver room. I know Brandon Ayuk's off on his own world, but their receiver room could be a lot of fun this year. I mean, they got some veterans in there. Pearsall may be prime for a breakout, but I do think the 49ers offense could be really good this year if they can all finally stay healthy. And we saw what Purdy was when he was healthy last year. He was a great option when he was on the field. So I just like his upside more than I like Jared Goff's.
I agree with you. I think Purdy has a higher upside, but Goff is that steady veteran. He's kind of like Drake Prescott, Dak Prescott, in my opinion, not Drake Prescott. I'm going with Goff here just because I trust him more. He has 3 straight seasons with at least 4,500 passing yards and 30 touchdown passes. So he is so steady. He's healthy. He's on the field, takes every snap. Great offense, great offensive line he throws behind as well. So I'm going Goff here over Purdy. I think I agree with you that Purdy probably has a higher ceiling, but I think Goff is the safer of the two. So I'm going to lean him if I have to pick between those two guys on draft day. All right, Henry, last category. This is a fun one. We're going to do a bold prediction for the QB spot. What's your bold prediction, fantasy prediction for fantasy quarterbacks this year?
So you talked about him earlier in your opening remarks of what you think the biggest storyline is, but I think Patrick Mahomes will finish as a top 7 quarterback. I know the health issues are there, but I think this could be one of the, if not the best offense Mahomes has had in his entire career. He's finally going to have a elite running back, which we've seen what that can open up in the passing game. And I think that's going to open up so many possibilities. You're going to have Rashee Rice healthy. Xavier Worthy may be primed for a breakout. I know we've all been kind of waiting on that. Now I think he's kind of falling down draft boards where it might be good value to grab him. And this is probably Kelsey's last run. I mean, I think that's a big factor. And also Mahomes is going to try to prove to the world that he's still maybe the best quarterback in the entire NFL after going off an injury last year, not making the playoffs. I think he's going to try to prove to the world that he is still probably the best quarterback in the NFL, and he's going to want to make a statement on that.
I like that because I think Patrick Mahomes definitely is going to have a chip on his shoulder coming into this year. I think that's a good call, and his price is really cheap right now. I have a feeling as we get closer to the start of the season, his ADP is going to go up. But right now, you can get him as a QB2, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. But I think that's an interesting prediction, Henry, and it could definitely come true. Mine is a guy that you really like, and I like him as well. It's Caleb Williams. I think he's going to finish as a top 3 fantasy quarterback this year. I think he could even push to that number 1 territory, in my opinion, challenge Josh Allen. I think he's going to have that big of a year. He has some great receivers to work with in Burden and Odunze. I think Odunze is going to have a huge year as well. He had some injury issues and some drop issues last year. I think he's going to get those under control. He has Colston Loveland as well. And as I mentioned earlier, Williams dealt with some drop issues from his receivers. He faced heavy pressure at times, had some trouble with accuracy also. So if he just shores up those areas a little, and he was already 6th overall in fantasy quarterback scoring last year. With that going on, I think that is just going to create big time fantasy growth for him this year as well. So I think Caleb Williams is going to finish as a top 3 fantasy quarterback this year. All right, Henry, thanks so much for joining me on the quarterback preview. Good stuff. Really appreciate you coming on. We're going to hit all the positions, so get ready for it.
Yeah, I'm ready. Should be fun.
All right, great stuff, Henry. Really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody out there for watching the quarterback preview for the 2026 fantasy football season. Get in the league at RT Sports today. Go to rtsports.com. This has been Jeff Paur for RealTime Fantasy Sports.